revolution is not going away.
This is the Ron Paul Liberty Report with Ron Paul, Daniel McAdams, and Chris Rossini.
We are all ambassadors of the Ron Paul doctrine, and it's so simple. Just tell the truth.
An idea whose time has come cannot be stopped by any army or any government.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to the Liberty Report. With us today, we have Daniel McAdams, our co-host, is with us once again. Daniel, good to see you today.
Good morning. How are you?
Good.
All right.
And as you know, because you're sitting beside it, we have a special guest today.
In the hot seat.
So we don't have to do any work at all because he's a good talker.
That's right.
And he has a good experience. So very glad that we have a guest here. His name is Dr. Matt Rostami. And I'll tell you what, Matt, we're glad to have you. You're an ophthalmologist.
Yes, sir.
And you've been around a bit. You're just a kid. I know that. Boy, I'll tell you what, you've done a lot.
I appreciate that.
You finish college, you finish medical. It takes a long time to be a doctor. And then you have this super specialist training in eye surgery.
That's right.
And I always was fascinated with eye surgery. I took a month elective once when I was a medical student, so I know a lot about ophthalmology.
Okay, all right. We'll ask you some questions later.
You're right, to see if I pass. So I think that it's wonderful about the eye, but I was fascinated. You know, one time ENT and eyes were all one thing.
Yeah,
Then
that's
it
true.
went down to ophthalmology as the doctors got smarter, and then they started dividing the eye up into pieces.
Yep.
You know, the front eye and the back eye, and you can't even see the back eye unless you have magic and wonderful equipment in ophthalmology. That's a lot of learning. So
It is a lot.
to do that. But you went through all that, and you're practicing ophthalmology, and that I think is wonderful. So, but then the way I understand it, you had a discovery. Medicine was great, and you loved it, but there was something burning in your heart someplace where there was the idea of liberty that it was attractive to you, and
Sure.
you looked into it, and you found a name of somebody that you thought, well, he that's what he's talking about. I think I'd like to meet him someday. And of course, that was the day you described to me that you did happen to come across something like that, and so you've been spreading the message, and that to me is great. So, tell us a little bit about how you really came into that. You're not allowed to mention my name anymore.
That's going to be tough.
So, but tell us,
Sure.
Philosophically, they go back a little bit before you really ever even heard or paid any attention to the whole idea of libertarianism. Did you have a parent? Did you have friends or
Nothing. I was a blank slate, to be honest with you, when it came politically, and my first exposure was actually to you. When I saw you in that 2008 primary debate in South Carolina. At the time, I was studying medicine. I was doing my pre-med requirements, but I was also a Middle Eastern Studies major. And I saw you speaking out against the Iraq War, the Afghan War, and going into the history of Iran and understanding why we are here today. And I'm thinking, man, this guy knows what's going on. He actually understands history. And from there, I started learning more about you. I learned more about monetary policy, how they're printing the money, devaluing the currency. I learned more about, Second Amendment, just having the right to bear arms, the idea of, being able to speak your mind, and then eventually just foundationally the idea of individual liberty. And that's why I became a big supporter of yours. And because at the time it was 2008 and everyone was telling me, because I'm 18, right? And everyone's saying, oh, you should vote for Obama. He's black like you. And I'm just like, no. I identify more with this 70-something-year-old white Christian man than Obama. It doesn't even matter. Identity politics makes no sense. So from then on, I've been a supporter. I support you in 2012. Now I support people like your son, Thomas Massey. And, it's a great honor to be sitting here with you today. I don't think you have any idea how it feels to me.
Now, were you born here?
I was born in Charleston, South Carolina. Yeah, that's where my mom is from. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. But that's pretty neat. And but your family, or
Yeah, so
some of your family are from Iran, and
Yeah.
you've been there.
I have. My dad is from Iran, and then my mom is here. She's black, and they met here, and then they had me. And I lived in Iran from 4 years old to 10 years old, and I used to go back once a year until like 10 years ago. So I'm very familiar with the country and what goes on there. And things are not good. It's typical third world stuff. But my concern is all the rhetoric we're hearing right now about going to war with Iran, because I don't see any bombing or intervention from the U.S. is going to make the life of the Iranian people better. I mean, yes, the government's not good. The government's not good in many places in the world, And honestly, every time I used to come back from Iran to America, I would see America starts to resemble Iran more and more. So I remember when the Snowden files broke out. I was in Iran at the time. And then I came back here and the Snowden files breaks out. And I'm like, okay, now they're listening into our phones. They're doing what they're doing here like they're doing in all these other countries. But the answer is not to sprinkle some bombs on these countries and expect that the George Washington of Iranian descent is going to come and just save their country. That's just not how this is going to work. But I'm afraid that's where we're heading.
Well, yeah, do you go now, or has it been a while since you've been there?
It's been almost like 7-8 years now.
Oh.
Yeah, I haven't been back to the country. I talk to my uncle, often. He was actually here last year for my wedding. But I talk to my family there. Things are not good, but things are going to get much worse if, we have civil war, bombing. We've seen this model in Libya where America we sprinkle some bombs and we just walk away, and that country has not recovered. We've seen this in Afghanistan where we go in there, we try to put a regime in power. 25 years later, it reverts back to what it is. Mm-hmm. We've seen this in Iraq. We've seen this in all over the place. And I don't think this is going to work this time.
Do you base or understand the problems are religious oriented, or is that just one item that?
I don't think it's religious at all, to be honest with you. The government there, sure, there are some zealots who believe in it, but practically speaking, they're just like any other government. They're doing things based on like monetary benefit for themselves. So this whole idea that we're in some sort of religious conflict, it just doesn't add up to the facts.
Uh-huh.
That's not what Levine says, right?
Well, Levine speaks for another country that has another agenda. It's not for America. So that's the last guy you should be listening to.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say this. It's a good point. When is bombs made governments good again? It doesn't happen that way. You make a good point. But Lindsey Graham was saying something interesting this morning. He said, he's talking about, he was asked by one of the interviews, what about the day after the government falls? What are we going to do then? What's going to happen after we overthrow the regime? And he said, it's not my job to construct a new Iran. It's my job to give them the opportunity to construct a new Iran. So, I mean,
this is the problem.
Yeah.
This is the exact same problem. Whenever someone talks to you about intervention, always ask them, what's your plan the day after?
It's not my job. Not my job.
You're just going to have chaos.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to be. And he doesn't care. He doesn't care.
he
People
doesn't
like my uncle live there. He doesn't care about the Iranian people. They don't care.
You got to break a few eggs, The other thing is as we get closer. I mean, this literally could come within days. Mm-hmm. It could come tonight. Some people are saying when markets close on Friday. This is the largest military airlift that the United States has done in decades. Almost impossible for President Trump to back down now. There are very few ladders up there for him to climb down on. It looks inevitable that we're about to get into the largest war, probably at least since Vietnam, because this is not going to be a 91 Iraq. Iraq was a small country. It had been devastated by sanctions. It had been isolated. It didn't have the intellectual infrastructure that Iran has right now. It certainly didn't have the population or the military strength that Iran has right now. Don't you find it bizarre that there's almost no debate in the United States? Congress, aside from Thomas Massey and Ro Khanna, are completely in a coma. The American people, they're not even trying to propagandize. You were probably too young in the run-up to the Iraq War, But at that time, we were hit 24/7 with propaganda. Even the Secretary of State with his little vials, selling. They're not even trying anymore. I mean, I feel like I'm waking up in a bizarro world.
Yeah, don't you feel disrespected that your government doesn't even want to lie to you
They
anymore?
don't even lie to you anymore.
Like, that's so disrespectful, guys. At least make something up if you're going to make us go and invade a country. But that's where we're at.
Now, you say you have an uncle still in Iran.
Yeah.
You hear our conversation and you're familiar with it. Those who ignore it and those who want to do more like Graham. And then there's those of us who say it's, and Daniel described it pretty well. We see the pictures and we know what's happening, the money spent, and it looks truly like he's worried about that there's going to be an explosion. How would your uncle, what does he think about right now? Maybe you don't talk to him much right now, but is he more in the area? Well, it looks like the Americans are going to attack us soon, or are they in a quandary, or where would he be on it?
It's hard to speak with him because they monitor the phones. You can't speak freely what you think. I think everyone there knows an attack is imminent because we just see it in the news.
Oh, they do.
Yeah, I mean, they're just as connected as we are to the internet. See, Iran is not like North Korea. They try to make, Iran's government's not good, but it's not like North Korea where you don't have internet access and you can't see what's going on. You have to use like special software to get past the internet, but most people are very aware of what's happening in the rest of the world. But again, most Iranians, they care about the day after. Because there's a lot of Iranians who live here who will say, well, let's just go in and bomb and do what we have to do. We hate the regime. Okay, I don't like the regime either. But the question is, what happens to the people who live there? Because there are, as bad as the government is, there are institutions. There's banks that work. There's hospitals. There's supermarkets. Yes, there's inflation. But there is a semblance of everyday life. But once you go in there, you bomb the government with no replacement, and then you have civil war, because Iran is only half Persian. The other half is multiple different ethnicities. You even have 12% of the country that's Sunni. So you're going to have a civil war. But no one cares about these questions. People just want to sprinkle some bombs and just hope the pieces fall into place. And that's just not reality.
You say religion doesn't play much of a part in it, or what? But what is the breakdown? I'm sure there's Islam there, there's Christians there are Jews there, and most people would think, well, probably not many. Well, do you know the numbers of what the percentages would be?
So, the country is typically 90% Shiite Muslim. The other like 9 or 10% is Sunni. And there's a small amount of Christians, small amount of Jewish people in the country. And, the Jewish people and the Christians, they do get one seat in parliament in the Iranian government, which people don't know about. And people always ask, like, well, are the Jewish people and the Christians oppressed in Iran? Well, my answer is very blunt. It's Iran, so everyone's oppressed. But the idea is that the Iranian government is trying to kill all the Jews doesn't make any sense when you have 9,000 to 20,000 Jews living in Iran. Iran has the second highest population of Jews in the Middle East after Israel. No one knows this, but instead you just get this stuff like Mark Levin is telling you that we're in some sort of religious war and they're trying to kill the Jews and all this stuff. It's just complete nonsense. But even at this point, we need to understand, my wife is in the military. You were in the military, Dr. Paul. When you guys signed up for the military, did you guys sign up to defend America? Or did you guys sign up to liberate countries around the world?
Where is the source of the conflict coming from? We have our opinion. Where do you think, who's responsible for that?
Us and Iran?
Yes. Is it somebody like Lindsey Graham? Or who is it, or what is it?
We don't have a problem with Iran. Like, the U.S. doesn't have a problem with Iran. Iran has a problem with Israel, and we've decided to get in there and to back Israel. That's the issue. The Iranians could care less about us. Like all this talk you're hearing about, oh, they're going to make a nuke and send it to New York City. That doesn't make sense. Number one, the Iranian regime, their own children's are living in New York City and they own apartments. So they're not going to nuke their own apartments. Okay? So the problem, the Iranians have a problem with the Israelis because of what's going on in Israel and Palestine. And then we are backing the Israelis, which I understand we need to support allies. But are we really going to engage in an entire war without even congressional approval, and has no interest in our own national security? It's crazy.
What is your opinion about why our government is so submissive to the commands sometimes or the demands coming from Israel.
Dr. Paul, you trying to get me assassinated here? I have no plans to commit suicide. I drive well. What's that thing Thomas put out saying that he's a good swimmer and all that? Dr. Paul, I think part of it is
bother with this one.
No, I'll tell you.
I wonder what motivates people.
Dr. Paul, I think some of them are like Huckabee. I think they're true believers. They think their version of Christianity, which is not most Christians, is what he needs to follow. Some of them may be blackmailed. I don't know. I really don't know. I think it's some of them may be getting paid from the military-industrial complex to push this stuff. I think it's multifactorial. I have no idea.
Well, I would say 53. It was oil.
Oil would help too.
That was what we said. We need to go in there and get the oil from.
Yeah.
They're still arguing over oil, and there's plenty of oil in the world. Just think of what it would be like if we have more libertarians. We wouldn't have that mess in the country that has the most oil, Venezuela. Maybe they'd be selling this. Maybe we'd have a lot more favorable, healthy trade with Venezuela
Trading
if we had more libertarian. So our goal is more libertarian message out there.
That's what we're hoping for. We just hope that people can understand. It's more efficient to trade with your neighbors than to go to war with them.
All right, Daniel.
Well, not for everyone. There are people that profit from the war.
That's a good point.
And as for Dr. Paul's earlier question, I would say APAC money is a big factor. You're talking, I think they have a $100 million war chest. That'll go a long way. And you have people like Thomas Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who say, I don't want to take any foreign money. What do? They get targeted. Yeah. They get targeted for removal. So I think we may be getting closer to a point where this unregistered foreign lobby buying off our candidates starts to become a liability. Mm-hmm. And we've seen actually for the first time, some candidates coming out there and saying, I am not going to take APAC or any foreign money. Now, I know one of the things that you're involved in, you still believe in the political process, which is nice, but no.
Why you gotta say it like that?
I'm halfway joking, but this is one of the things when we have the Ron Paul seminar, we have a lot of young people, grad school, upper division undergrads, and we have lectures to tell them, a lot of people, you don't have to be an activist. You don't have to be a politician. We've got people in pre-med and pre-law, and we tell them, go out and start a business and support candidates that you like, support organizations that you like. You don't have to be out there in front as an activist. You may have, and Dr. Paul will always say this, you may have an even more important role to play. And so that is one of the things that you're doing. Tell us a little bit about some of the politics, some of the candidates you're dealing with.
Well, obviously I support Thomas Massey. We've done fundraisers for him. I've also started my own super PAC, which I fund myself. It's called Free America for Ourselves, FAFO. And it's to keep foreign influences out of our elections. So I run ads for Thomas Massey. I've been helping another individual, Brandon Herrera. He is running in South Texas against Tony Gonzalez. And Tony Gonzalez is a APAC-supported candidate, and that's the problem with all these APAC guys. They're more loyal to a foreign country than actual America. Brandon Herrera is a big Second Amendment advocate. He almost beat Tony by 400 votes last in the primary. And when he lost, APAC put out a graphic. They put out a graphic putting Brandon and Tony next to each other, and they just smeared Brandon, calling him an anti-Semite, and saying that that's why they were against him. Now, Brandon's running again. The primary is going on right now in Texas. So if you're there, Brandon Herrera is your guy. And just going to throw it out there. Tony Gonzalez, he had an affair with one of his staffers, and that staffer burned themselves alive. The story just broke 2 days ago.
Wow.
Okay, everyone knows this now. Another one we have going on is in the area where I live, in Dallas. We have our incumbent, Congressman Keith Self. This man has made his entire campaign running against Sharia law. There's nothing else he talks about. If you ask him why we have inflation, he'll say Sharia law. If you ask him why we can't afford healthcare, he'll say Sharia law. This is what he all talks about. We have a man running against him. By the way, Keith Self takes money from APAC. These guys all have the same patterns.
Of course, yeah.
So we have a guy running against Keith Self. His name is Mark Nugent. He's also a 20-year retired Army captain. Good guy. Not taking any APAC money. America first guy. So if you're in the Dallas area, Republican primary, these are all Republicans I'm talking about. You want a Republican that's going to put America first. That's what you want. Because it's easy for a Republican to get up there and be like, oh, I'm pro-Second Amendment. Well, guess what, buddy? We're all pro-Second Amendment. The question is, are you going to put America first or not? So if you're out there, Brandon Herrera and Mark Nugent, those are the two guys I would definitely recommend voting for.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. Getting active, it's helpful. It's very important.
What else can we do?
Yeah,
What else can we
absolutely.
do?
You're going to have a lot of candidates calling you up and say, "Hey, I need a good advisor. Come help me. Tell me more about this."
I'll try. I'll do my best.
And you remember we talked a little bit earlier. I said you were a little bit maybe pessimistic, I would say.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. And I was trying to tell you, well, nobody can count the remnant. We don't know what's going on. There's a lot of more positive attitude out there, and things do change. But you could do both. You could be, obviously, I tried to do both. I used politics as a method of spreading a message, and I think that's important. But I'm not naive. I didn't think I was going to become the chairman of the federal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Donald Trump will call me up. Hey Ron, will you come be my chairman of the Federal Reserve?
Yeah, I've seen your debates with Bernanke. I think after those that you were blacklisted from ever being a federal chairman. But I'm glad I came down here because your positive energy has, I think it's kind of gotten rid of a little bit of the pessimism. I think I'm glad I'm here. You give me energy, Dr. Paul.
That's what I go through every day. I come in very depressed. I'm always negative, always black-pilled, and then Dr. Paul's got a smile on his face. He's optimistic. I should pay him a therapy fee or something.
Well, I don't think we have a definite date yet, but we're having a conference. Maybe we'll be able to get you there.
Oh, no. I would definitely like to stop by.
April 25th. April
Where's that?
25th. Right here, Lake
Oh,
Jackson.
fantastic,
LJ.
yeah.
Back to Lake Jackson twice.
Hey, I was at your birthday party last year, too.
Wow.
That's right. You guys are close. It's only a 40-minute flight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to stop by.
The other thing, I know we're getting short on time, but I can't let this go by with two doctors in the room. We talked about it off camera a little bit. Dr. Paul and I talk about it a lot because we have to try to deal with some of the problems of the Institute, but it's medicine itself. And now you deal with this a lot.
Yeah.
And I know, Dr. Paul, I think he should hear what you were saying because how has medicine changed? How are you seeing things change in medicine? What are the big problems?
You know, I started my own practice from scratch, so I'm very familiar with how the insurance industry works. And one thing you learn when you start your practice is you learn about these plans called Medicare Advantage. They're not just Medicare plans. They sound like Medicare plans, but they're not. See, let's go through a quick history of Medicare. So the government back in like 40s and 50s, they said, give us your tax dollars and then we'll reimburse your doctor for the services that the doctor gives you. So that went on for a few decades. Everything was fine. And then predictably, the government just ran out of money because of inefficiency and not negotiating proper prices with drug companies and et cetera. So what the government decided to do was to give the money back to the people and let the people make their own decisions. Just kidding. That never happens. That didn't happen, no. So what the government did was they took your tax dollars and they gave it to private companies like United, Humana, Aetna, and now those companies are giving you Medicare Advantage plans. And the way those companies make money, obviously, is by cutting your care and pocketing the difference. So this is a perfect example of where big government and big corporations come together at the detriment of the American people. This is corporatism, which is a polite way of saying economic fascism. That's just what it is. Because how else can you explain that you don't let the people decide what they're going to do with their money, but instead give it to the company who has the best lobbyists and now they're in charge of your healthcare? And that's going to get worse and worse.
Of course, we do have a few examples in the country which just rejected insurance. The doctor up in Oklahoma City, he rejected insurance, the government, and he just did cash payments. And he told, when I went to visit with him, he told me, he says, we're almost down to the point where we can take care of people, which is your deductible. The deductible is pretty high. And the one thing I gathered from him, he says, the doctors made less money, but they were happy.
Yeah, because you have to argue and fight with insurance companies. You know how much stress I get? You know how much stress I get when I see a claim denied? Even though in the long run, when you look at the totality of claims, it's negligible. But just that feeling that someone's ripping you off makes you feel upset. So that's why people are happier if they even get a little pay, as long as it's consistent.
Now, you do some pretty fancy ophthalmology surgeries because that's very advanced. I would wonder if all these insurance companies even have a vague idea about exactly, the difficulty and what you go through, and yet their pricing mechanism makes no sense, except you probably explained it pretty well. You know, it's split up, and the corporatism argument is very, very strong. I use it all the time.
Yeah.
And it's
I learned it from you.
crony capitalism.
That's the problem.
Yeah. So wonderful.
So how can we fix medicine?
You know, a lot of these problems, and we discussed this with Dr. Paul, is that the people are just going to have to change. You know, you can't really just vote your way out of it. The people need to change fundamentally. Once the people fundamentally understand the problems, then you're going to be able to get the right people in place. But until the people are there on their mindset and understand the issues, it doesn't matter, because then they just see ads and they're just voting based on ads. Yeah. So and that's the thing, right? Like us, we understand that these solutions don't get solved by the government. We really believe in people. But it's a slow process.
Yeah. Well, it looks like we're about to close out. I was going to have you comment on this, but I'll just mention it. The bizarre situation we're in, where yesterday we had President Trump addressing his board of peace as military equipment was going toward Iran to attack Iran. It does feel like we're in a bad dream that we can't wake up from. So I think certainly us and certainly our audience probably will definitely join together in hoping for a way out of this that does not include the violence that we fear may be coming.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Very good. Now, would you like to give out an address? Do you like to meet more people coming and finding out what you're doing personally?
Oh, yeah, I would love that. Whatever to spread the cause of liberty.
Give it to them and let them know where they can find you.
So you can find me on X or Facebook, Matt, M-A-T-T, Rostami, R-O-S-T-A-M-I, and I'm the only one, so it'll come up easily on any social media platform.
Wonderful. So, but I do want to thank you very much for coming. You're very entertaining.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Paul. I appreciate that.
And you know, you gave me a little bit of credit, but I think when it comes to delivering a point of view, you do very, very well.
I really appreciate it, Dr. Paul. I mean, you know, people say like sometimes you want to meet your heroes. I am so glad I met you today to get these compliments. I mean, this is awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Paul. Thank you for having me.
And I want to really thank our viewers today for tuning in. This is very important for you to continue to study and read and promote, because everybody has a responsibility. I believe that if somebody has a light bulb go on and says, that makes sense, you know, nonviolence and everything works wonderfully. And when the light bulb goes on, I really believe this, even though I would never use force to do it. You have more responsibility to spread the message than anybody else, because you have an obligation. You know it and understand it, and you believe in it. But if you don't believe in it, or if it doesn't fit into natural law, it won't work anyway. So it's the other thing is once you understand this and how important it is, I tell you what, I think that it is such a positive thing that this is exactly what we have to do, is get the message out. And I've discovered, especially that young people are very open-minded. You know, I talk about the Chamber of Commerce class as being an obstacle, but I say that in a way that is not mean and nasty, because I know some people in the Chamber of Commerce. But I'll tell you what. It's the organized businessman that really is the problem. And right now, I'm afraid that is one of the biggest problems we're facing right now with this current administration, is the connection which is building. It's not being diminished. It's building between big business and big government. I think that's dangerous. There's every reason, if you understand what personal liberty is all about, that would not happen. I do want to thank everybody for tuning in today to the Liberty Report. Please come back soon.
Thanks for watching the Ron Paul Liberty Report. Like and subscribe to help spread the message. And until next time, live free.
This country is in a revolution, and I happen to